Anybody else? I want you to go without having your say. I guess I'm going to be careful. I don't want to insult the council and wind up stoned. So I'm trying not to upset the council here today. But when you remember when Jesus spit on the ground and he made mud and put it on the blind man's eyes, and he said, go and wash in the pool of Siloam. And when he did, he came back seeing me. And there were some very religious people that got upset, but they didn't get upset because the blind man saw. They got upset. This is what they got upset about, because they were very legalistic. So be careful if you're legalistic. They got upset because when Jesus spit on the ground and he used his finger to make the mud, they considered that he was plowing the ground, and you couldn't plow the ground on the Sabbath day. Isn't that amazing? They didn't get upset because the blind man was healed. They got upset because of their legalistic attitudes. Their legalistic attitude said, Jesus, when you stirred the spit in the ground, you plowed. They were so legalistic, they made everything big. Legalism makes it so hard to serve the Lord. But I want to share with you again, because I still have time. But I was ministering to you last week on the language of love, that we need to learn the language of love. So, in putting that aside for just a moment, I'm going to tell you a little story that I heard long ago that I've told several times, and you might have heard me tell it. There was a church that needed a pastor, and they put out word, and this young preacher came to try out for the church. And it was just amazing. Everybody loved his ministry, loved the way he preached them. So they told the young man they would have their council meeting and decided they wanted to be the pastor. And the outcome was that the council said, we want this young man, this certain young man, for a pastor. So they told him that. He moved into the parsonage, and the first Sunday he preached, and he took for his text that Jesus said, you must be born again. And he preached that sermon on that text. And everyone was so excited. It was so wonderful and such a great sermon. And they shook his hand, and all the council and the elders in the church. And the next Sunday he got up to preach, and he took for his text again, you must be born again. And he preached another sermon on that text. This third Sunday he got up and used the same text. And Jesus said, you must be born again. And the council, the third Sunday, hearing him preach the same, using the same text, got upset with their new pastor. And so they called a council meeting. And the pastor went in, and the council of the church, the elders sat down, and they said, we love you, and we appreciate you, and really love your ministry. But they said, we want to know when you're going to preach anything other than you must be born again. And so he sat there for a moment and he looked at each one of them. the members on the council board, and he said to the council, when you're born again. So the moral of the story is, I'm going to preach the language of love till you get it. And you may get tired of it, but I feel like this is one of the areas that we have missed. Not everyone, and I'm not throwing this out as a blanket, to cover every church and everybody, and say all of us are wrong, but we have somehow skipped over this lesson that we need to learn the language of love. And until we do this, until we learn this, and we pray, we pray, God, send me out to speak through me, give me the words to say. But until we learn the language of love, He is not going to send us out. Because we'll do too much damage with condemnation and legalism and religion. All of that is destructive. We've hurt so many people by not learning to speak the language of love. We know we have the right religious words to say, but if we don't say them in the language of love, we hurt more than we can save. We drive more people away than what we can draw in. Because I have heard people, I have heard this, where people, that the words, that the concept of what they were trying to say was true, but it was said with such unlove. There was no love in it, and it made me cringe. And it made me think, wow, if I'd have heard this first, I wouldn't be here today. So we need to learn to speak this language of love. And this language of love is not to give people new directions for their life, or a timetable for their life, or give them some new direction, or some new doctrinal theory, because that's all doctrines are theories. There's a difference between a doctrinal truth and a doctrinal theory, and most doctrines are theories that men want to tell us about. But this is what the language of love is. It's reminding one another what God said or what He did. That's the language of love, just reminding people what God said. We've been swept up on this wave of prophetic utterances where we feel like, well, if there's no great prophetic wave, there's no God. God isn't there. That's not true. Because God is not in those prophetic waves. He's in the prophetic word that will cause the wave to come. But when He speaks that word, He speaks it in love. So the first place I want to take you to is 1 Corinthians. And if you're any bit of a Bible scholar, you'll probably know where I'm going. I'm going to the 13th chapter of 1 Corinthians, the love chapter. But we have misappropriated this love chapter. So let's read this 13th chapter of 1 Corinthians. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of